Hello and welcome to the Think Bambu Podcast, the show where we unpack the personal and professional growth journeys from some of the most interesting minds in business and marketing. And today we have none other than Kirsty Hulse. Kirsty, for those that are unfamiliar with you, would you care to give a little introduction for yourself? No, sorry. Crack on, Kirsty.
Of course. Hello, my name is Kirsty. I'm one of the most interesting minds in business I've just discovered. I've
Yes,
just
you
learned
are.
that. My name's Kirsty Hulse. I do a few different things. I run a professional development consultancy where I work with big corporates like Amazon and LinkedIn, and I help make their teams impossible to ignore. So I help make them better at communication and influence and storytelling and presenting and leadership and all of those very important people skills we need in business, especially now that we often forget. I'm also the creator of Confidence Live, which is the world's biggest confidence event. But my background is agency, which is how we know each other.
Yes. And speaking of which, you ran an agency for a little bit called
I did.
called Many Minds, and I've got a little quote here of you saying closing a business is braver than starting one, and
Yeah.
you, from the outside, the perception was you closed Many Minds at possibly the height of its success, or at least it seemed like it was all of that. And what I'd like to know, because this podcast is about, the personal and professional growth, is you made that choice. And what I'd like
Mm.
to know is what was I say the internal dialogue that
Uh-huh.
uh, that you had with yourself to go, okay, I'm turning my back on this revenue for my well-being. And at that point in your life, what did it teach you about yourself?
So I think I have this moment. So I was running this agency and it grew pretty quick. I mean, my first ever client in business was Virgin Atlantic. And I basically ran before I could walk. And I can't remember, I think I was maybe 25 or 26. Age doesn't really matter, but it did for me. I wasn't psychologically ready actually to lead a team. I
Yeah.
wasn't ready to be responsible for other people's emotional well-being. I was barely responsible for my own. And I felt as though I'd got this behemoth of a business and I ended up hating it. And I'm a really upbeat kind of person. I always have been. I'm optimistic, I'm positive, and I lost that. And I was sitting at my desk, and one of our clients, big global company, sent an email saying, "Hey, we really love working with you. Procurement would like to run another 4-year contract." And this client was kind of responsible for a lot of people's pay,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
And I just had this moment of like, another 4 years? I don't think I can do it. Also, I've got quite a lot of professional integrity, and we weren't that good. There were we started really good, and we were really good at like technical stuff. But I was the face of the business and I wasn't technical. So we ended up selling more like PR and social stuff, which we were
Right.
appalling at. And I was trying to separate me from the business. And I knew that we weren't great. And I was like, I want to be able to enjoy my life and I want to be able to enjoy my business world. And I think I knew intuitively, I had a sense that things can be stepping stones.
Hmm.
I was still early in my career. And so, yeah, I closed it. And like a way that everyone was like, no, what are you doing? And I had this friend, he's called John Straw.
Hmm.
And he used to give me loads and loads and loads of advice. And he was an early investor in so many businesses. And he was big in the agency world. And I used to listen to him for advice all the time. And I remember him looking at me and saying, give it a few more years, build a bit more structure in this business, and you can sell it. And I was like, John, I'm ignoring that. Goodbye. And I'm really pleased that I did that.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
really pleased. Love that I did that.
And I'd say that goes back to the phrase of what you're saying, that bravery, because on another session, I was chatting with someone about staying true to yourself and like that integrity about where am I supposed to be? If you were to go through those 2 years, is there? I'm not saying that you would do this. Is there a chance that I'm just going through the motions, right? Okay, here we get through to that point there. I'm absolutely hating my life. Sell it, get on. Like the passion's not there, and unless you are an absolutely phenomenal actress, I think that is hard to fake, and that people will see through it. That's what I found. They go like, "Are you really in
Mm.
this?" Or I don't really
It's-
believe you.
Yeah, and to be clear, I think most people don't need to be passionate about their jobs and be passionate about their businesses. It's quite famous that I forgot his name. The guy who wrote Hamilton hates musical theatre. Like someone told me that
Oh,
once.
yes, I know the name. Sorry, now that you've said
Yes,
it.
go
Yes,
on, it'll come back.
yes,
It'll come back. I'll scream it at you in about 10 minutes.
yeah.
So we
Okay,
don't. My story is not
okay.
one of you've got to find a job that you love. You know, my granddad was a miner. My dad was in a job his whole life that he hated. I think for most of us, that's phenomenally unrealistic. But I knew that I was not operationally strong. I'm not operationally strong. I wasn't strong in terms of delivery. Literally, the only skill I have, and I just happen to be really good at it, but the only skill I have is influence. I was good at sales. I was good with clients. I was really good at influencing people. And that is phenomenally dependent on energy and liking what you're doing. If I was really good at process or ops or some other skills, then
Yep.
I could have got away with running a business I didn't like or a business that drained me. And so I'm always very careful when I share my story. I'm really never like quit your job unless you love it, because I think for most people that's just not real
Yeah.
life. But I think quit your job if you're bad at it and you hate it. Like, yeah, if you're good at it, that's okay. I don't think you can be both. I was bad.
I like that. I'm going switch. I was just awful at it. You're like, okay, cool. Have you got anything else to go
I
to?
was absolutely
Not yet.
terrible, Jamie.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Well, look here. You mentioned earlier about running a conference there about Confidence Live that a few of us at Think Bamboo have gone to, and the feedback for it is it's wonderful, and they got a tremendous amount of value from it. So you teach confidence, or at least you're able to help nurture confidence in people.
Hmm.
You say that with confidence being a muscle, it's okay. You've taught people that. When did you realize, or when did you start to nurture it yourself? And
Mm.
when, how do you try to nurture it yourself? And when did you first start seeing uh, like success from that of going, wait a minute, I've tried doing this and it's working out for me.
Yeah, and I think confidence is not one thing and it has different levels. So I was lucky that, I've got 4 older brothers
Mm,
and I am basically unembarrassable. Like sometimes people try and like troll me on the internet and I'm like, literally, you can go nowhere near what James Hulse can do. Okay. So like having loads of older brothers, they were horrid to me, but in like that kind of way that a northern, like these like lads, they're like lads as well, and they're so
mm,
funny. And they would just like rip into me in just like the meanest way from like the day I was born. And actually, that was so great. I'm so pleased they did that because now I can be in a meeting and someone tries to steal my idea or tries to say something mean to me on the internet. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with it.
yeah,
So I think I got almost like vaccinated at a young age away from feeling embarrassed, like socially.
yeah, yeah.
I'm not afraid of social rejection. And that's the thing that most of us are. So I had external confidence. I was quite fortunate. I was also able to stand on stages. I went to stage school, you can so tell. I was able to do that because I grew up performing.
Hmm.
So I had that in my career kind of throughout. And then as I got older, I had to develop tediously, Jamie, actual confidence, not just where you can perform confidence, but you
Hmm.
truly feel it and you genuinely like yourself. And I had to learn how to stop being critical of myself or stop being mean or, stop kind of beating myself up over constantly everything I'd ever done. And that was like the next level of confidence. And the version of confidence I'm working on now is this just like, can I swear on this podcast?
You could do. I was about to say, yeah, but actually, is YouTube gonna like that? Is LinkedIn gonna
Oh,
like
I
that?
won't then. I won't. I won't.
No, but you can allude to it, and I'll support you either way.
Yeah. And I think like the last phase of confidence is
Uh-huh.
being like unfrickable. Like, no one, like,
Solid.
I'm untouchable. I'm untouchable.
You know what you just said there? You have now got the title for that video of Unfrickable, the Unfrickable Kirsty Hulse.
Unfrickable.
Yeah, so we'll go with that.
Unfrickable.
So cool. As you were, I don't want to derail your train of thought.
Confidence is this like ongoing evolution, and we never get there, but it is a skill. It really is a skill, especially if somebody wants to have like gravitas or leadership presence. You know, at this point in my career, I don't think I'm exaggerating, but I do have a habit of exaggerating, but I don't think I am. I have a habit, I have done thousands and thousands of talks at this point, virtual and in person. And I've learned so much. I know that I can walk into a room and change the whole energy in the space by just the way I sit. And so you can get to this level of like quite like profound, enjoyable influence. And I'm very fortunate because I go into lots of different rooms, like, I don't know, like investment bankers and things. And I like walking in and knowing that people are thinking certain things of me or having resistance to me or being like, oh, I don't like her accent or I don't like her vibe. And then just like twerking on their assumptions of me. I enjoy it. So that's fun.
What a phrase. Sorry, what a phrase. Twerking on their assumptions. Brilliant. Okay. Love it. So that's, I can relate to that because you said you went to stage school. I also went to a stage school growing up and then went to drama school and all the rest of that, and was an actor for a few years. But there was an exercise that we did, just on your comment there about you were able to change the energy of a room from the way that you sit. And this is going back a few years now. This is like 2006 or so. And the exercise was, I mean, it was different characters, but it was, imagine a scene. Let's take your scenario there of you've got several characters sitting around the table at a scene. So the energy is A right now, and we have to reach to B. And the scene of what we've got right now is the actor to walk into the room and sit. And we need either like attention, we need an energy shift. How are you going to do that? And we spent hours on doing this and making it, not just do it, but make it believable. Like you have to believe it. So if the attention is like adding an element of danger, how are you to do that? If there's a tension and they need to ease it and bring a sense of calm, how are you going to do that? And we had 12 actors in this room doing it. And I, like, at that point, I believed it's like, oh, this is transferable. You can absolutely do this in real life. And how are you going to do that when you walk into an audition room, for example, and maybe you can sense that maybe the last person before you, it didn't go so well, or something has happened, and you're like going in there and you've got a casting director looking at you. They've been in there for 4 hours that day. I either want to get ready, I've got to bring this energy up, or I've got to come in there and I've got to change this mood. And how am I going to do that? I might have not prepared for that, or I prepared my piece for this scenario here, but I couldn't anticipate that energy was going to be there. So the fact you're able to transfer that to business and like boardrooms, I think is stellar. To go on to that, so you started roar training, and it's just grown. You mentioned there about this behemoth of a business that you had before. From the outside, roar is the one that I refer to whenever I've got other, for example, as employees within Think Bambu that are thinking, I need to like a pep talk. How am I feeling there? I always refer them back to your content there as this is a place to go to. When setting that up, coming from many minds, coming from an agency background, all of this that doesn't necessarily tell me I'm going to go set up a training company. At what point did you think, like, go, right, this is the right thing for me? I don't have the external factors telling me this is the right thing to do, but something within me is saying I should be doing this. And at what point were you thinking, yes, this is a success?
I was really lucky because I set that business up in the way that I always recommend people set businesses up. And it's often not always like the best advice, depending on situation, but I didn't mean to start a training company. What happened was I was speaking at a conference, which I was doing a lot of when I was running my agency, and I was the only female speaker, and there was just like 20 white dudes and me. And they took a photo of all the speakers and they made me stand in the middle. Like that somehow kind of neutralized it.
Yeah.
That happens a lot less now. And I tweeted when Twitter was a really cool place to be. Look, women, let's start speaking at conferences. I'm going to give free presentation training and free presentation coaching to anyone who wants it. So I started doing that. Then I started running these free workshops. And then I realized I don't need to teach people how to present. I need to teach people to believe that they can, that they have a voice, that they have
Lovely.
things to share with an
Yep.
audience. And so then I started doing like free confidence training. And then businesses were like, hey, and it was Built Visible, who I think recently got bought, but Jeff Griffiths, who was the CEO of the agency Built Visible, one of my first ever clients. And he was like, can you come in and do this for our team? We'll pay you. And then it went from there. And then I was like, oh, this is way better than running an agency.
Right.
And so that had kind of like, there'd been a bit of overlap between the two things. I was already trying to start the training business whilst I was kind of winding down Many Minds. And then I got kind of lucky in that I fully closed Many Minds at the end of 2019. And I remember writing a blog post. I'd set myself up for a super successful 2020. Reader, she had not. Like I didn't have any work in 2020, but it gave me the capacity to do the things that business owners never do. It allowed me to think strategically. I read called Donford's Obviously Awesome, which is a really good book on positioning. I managed to think about my market and properly take the time to think about what I was offering. And a lot of the marketing and the materials that I created in 2020, it's what I still use now. So actually taking some time to, you know, like work on a business was really helpful. And then I knew that it was for me because I was really good at it and I really enjoyed it. And I've just got better and better at it. I'm phenomenal at training teams and I'm pretty appalling at everything else.
Solid. Solid.
Yeah. I've got one thing, Jamie, but I'm
but
so good.
Yeah, I was going to say you're excellent at it, and I love that. Twerking on their assumptions, unfrickable, pretty good at one thing and terrible at everything else. It's this is
I'm not pretty good. I'm exceptional.
You're exceptional. Sorry, yeah, you said you're pretty good. Say pretty good. You haven't got a tendency to exaggerate. I've got a tendency to like bring things right down, where I'm like, oh, Jamie, is that on fire? I'm like, nah, it's barely a scratch. And you're like, I don't know. It looks like that guy is in a pretty bad way. And go that way. Okay, cool. So I speak to this, or I've had this question with a few, but never actually on the podcast here, around when you're growing a business and anything like that, you have to tend to say yes, or people have a tendency to say yes to every opportunity that's coming there because they want to grow in their skin, like all of that there. You have been quite vocal about boundaries and saying no to certain things. And what I would love to know, I've seen a few posts around this. You might have said the same thing about, hey, I'm scaling up for 2020, and it actually might not be true at all. So now I'm realized, I'm like, is what I've seen true or not? Let's find out. So let's find out. Has there ever been a situation where you have said, you've made the choice to say no to something and it has actually led you to another position of growth, whether that is professionally or personally? Very similar to the example that you said there or earlier about getting that contract for 4 years and going, this isn't for me.
Interesting. Yeah. So I think the last time I said no was when I closed Many Minds. And I think when you said, oh, I've seen you talk about boundaries, I was like, oh, interesting. Have I? Because the view I have of myself now is I don't have a no bone in my body. Like I'm so bad, Jamie. This year I'm really trying, like kicking and screaming to say no to things more because I built my reputation. Pretty much not pretty much, every business deal I've done to date is inbound. I've never had to do any outbound yet.
Okay.
Everything's been inbound. Now, it's all been inbound because I live my life on social media. Well, I don't live my life on social media, but I consistently show up on social media and I do a lot of content marketing and all of that good stuff and it works. And so I've built my career by saying yes to that event, by saying yes to standing on that stage where I don't get paid, and so that's how I built my business, and it worked. And at some point you get to a level where, yeah, I've been very fortunate in that my business has continued to grow, and I hope that my reputation has grown positively alongside it. And
Hmm.
so it got to the end of last year where the requests that were coming in were unmanageable for one person. And there's a video that I shared it on Instagram, and it's me at the beginning of this year, like sitting sobbing, like kind of like laugh crying, and I'm like
Hmm.
sitting sobbing, and my partner Henry's like, "Kirsty, what's wrong?" And I was like, "I've had to say no to something." I find it so hard saying no. And if you're a business owner, we get told we have to say no and protect our energy and have boundaries all the time. And I don't know about you, but I'm sitting there like, how? I grew up working class. My granddad, I think about this all the time. I said to you earlier, my
Yeah.
granddad was a miner. My granddad was down the mines from like a child. And I'm going to sit there and be like, oh no, I don't want to get paid to deliver a keynote at your company. It's too much.
Hmm.
Like, it's like, I really struggle with it. So that is one of the things I am trying to get better at through slow, painful iteration. But I think it would be disingenuous of me to be like, I am so good at boundaries, because I am not. I am not. I'm bad at boundaries.
So you say that they over at Think Bamboo Land, funnily enough, am the one that is becoming quite good at boundaries, and
Oh.
it's a reason for that is we. I'm trying to say this without sounding like a super arrogant person. With any opportunity that comes our way, I want my instinct is to say yes. How can we do this? And
Mm,
I've then got to go. What I call within the team, like, what's the vibe check here? Are we
mm,
are we going to be doing the right thing here? Are we going to be able to deliver our best? Because if we can't, then I don't want to risk our reputation here. Everybody knows someone, they're connected. I mean, I've found the 6 degrees of separation. Sometimes I'm like, oh, you know that person. I am one person away from knowing them. I don't know when the next time we're going to speak to them, I'm not going to risk our reputation with on that.
mm.
And that's where I've
Yeah.
had to learn to say no, because my instinct is to say yes for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to take credit for that. It was definitely a few of our advisors that taught me how are you going to work with them, or is it set up for success that way? And
That's
that's where I had to learn to say no, or else genuinely my first thing is, of course we can help. Oh yeah, we can absolutely do this, blah blah blah. And then I find out, oh, actually, you're going to get a
mm,
C result at best here for the way that this is. We got to do our due diligence, all the rest of that. So what you went to stage school. You're teaching confidence here. I find the flip side of, let's say a side note to confidence to be that self-doubt. And that is something that I know that I have regularly for a whole lot of reasons. We're not here to unpack me. We're not here to unpack one of the most interesting minds, which is you. So the the idea of you've set up confidence live, you've set up road training, you've set up many minds, you're constantly or so far had inbound leads. Is there any time to yourself where self-doubt can kick in? And when that experience does happen, how do you, from working with others on confidence, how do you manage that yourself and navigate those thoughts?
So I used to have such crippling anxiety and self-doubt that it appeared all over my skin. I got this like really severe rash. Had to go for like ECG tests on my heart
Right?
because having panic attacks all the time. I am no stranger to anxiety. I am no stranger to being absolutely petrified at 2 a.m. because am I messing it all up? And when you asked me, just like, do you ever experience self-doubt? I kind of searched internally for the answer. And the thing that came up is now rarely,
Okay.
uh, because I practice the habit of confidence every day. So, like I go to the gym and I lift my little weights to try and keep my body healthy.
Hmm.
I do that. I would like to say, Jamie, not necessarily always little. I'm getting stronger. But
Getting ripped.
I'm the same with confidence now. And I know that for me, my brain for us, all humans, my brain will attach to the negative way more.
Mhm.
So, Confidence Live, for example, the first year I did Confidence Live, it was so vulnerable and it's in my hometown. And I had Caitlin Moran as one of the
Yeah.
speakers. Some of your listeners might know her. She's a journalist and like an icon and like a genuine idol of mine. I read all her books. She was like my mom. I was obsessed with her. And I met her before the event and she was like, "Why do I feel like I don't know you, but I feel like I'm just sitting in your brain?" And I was like, and that was like a really clear articulation of what, particularly that first year of Confidence Live. We had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people come to Stoke-on-Trent, which nobody believed could happen. And it takes huge amounts of passion and human energy to create something like that.
Yep.
And I did it, and it was like a total, absolute, undeniable success. But I sent out the feedback form like that evening or the next day, and I got about 97% like glowingly positive feedback, and then 3% of people who didn't like it. Like, what was I focusing on? Like that 3%, to the point where it was it was like obsessive. And I really struggled to see the situation as it really was. And this is what we do. Research has shown for every like one negative comment, we need 25 positive ones to balance it out. And I'm very fortunate in that Henry, my partner who I live with, whenever I go to telling myself I'm no good or people don't like this, he's always just like very like lovingly dismissive of it. He's like, "I'm not even listening to this." Like, I'm not even. And then that makes me laugh and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing that thing again." And so I used to be crippled with self-doubt, and now maybe like, I don't know, maybe like once every 2 months I'll have a wobble, but it's not much, not like what I used to be, like not at all. Because we can, with practice, patience, and consistency, learn to never overcome self-doubt, and that's kind of the wrong goal, but learn to befriend it
Yeah.
and ultimately not let it like rule our lives.
It's funny that you say that because my wife's a primary school teacher, and she's recently finished off her parents' evenings, and she's a very good primary school teacher, and she's had a lot of when you say they're focusing on that one, so the parents come in and it's not just a review for the kids. It's like the parents feel obliged to let them know whether you're doing a good job or not for their child, and invited or not. And she said, "Hey, come back." And I was like, "Oh, what did they say?" I was like, "Well, we said this, that." And I was like, "That's awesome! Like, well done." Yeah, this person said they didn't like my maths lesson. I was like, "All
Mm,
right, that on that one Tuesday 3 months ago, they didn't quite like the way you taught multiple like division.
mhm,
Okay, uh, don't okay." Or and she's like, "No, I need this is all I need to figure out now. All my other lessons, like I must be if they think this is like devastating to her." And she's someone that, quite frankly, could
mhm,
have gone to Cambridge and all the rest of that. She had all the grades for it. It could have gone to that, but she was like, "No, I'm going to be a primary school teacher." And I watched that happen, and so very similar to your partner there about when this happens. I want to be dismissive, like, no, don't give this your energy. Like, I'm not to say
mm,
you're awesome and all that stuff. Okay, listen to it and see where you can improve. Like, there's always there, but try not to let that overcome you. And I do not have the degree or the tools to help that, other than I'm here to support you. Try not
mm.
to let that 1% there, that one comment out of the other 27. You've got 28 kids in your class, and you're telling me that there was one out of 27 that said that you were pretty damn good. So, is
Mm.
YouTube going to tell me off for saying damn? We'll find out. So, from that there, you mentioned there that you're very prolific online. You spend your like
Mhm.
you're putting yourself there. You're always out there, and whether you like it or not, you are someone that I refer to about when you said there earlier about always showing up.
Mhm.
That's where I say to like the other founders and the people that like show up, add the value, like what you can put out there. Someone will listen. You do have something to say there.
Mhm.
Um, on that, now you can tell me whether this is true or not. There's you spoke once about founder fails and what can happen there, or at the beginning of setting that up. However, this is a podcast around growth and those journeys, and it's rarely just straight up. It's always up, down, and all the rest of that there. And I'm keen to share those journeys. Is there a founder fail, let's coin that term, that you could share with us that you experienced, but what did you learn from that scenario, and how were you able to turn that into a positive experience? Could you turn it into a positive experience? I'm hoping that you could, and I believe that you probably could as well. Is there something of that ilk that you could share?
Oh, loads. I think there's the very small things. Like when I was running the agency, I once signed a contract that had the wrong company names on, and it was the
Mm.
type mistake that cost us about £50,000. So then I learned to read contracts. So there's small little mistakes like that, but there's also I have set up like 7 businesses
Hmm.
that know that like, and I've done talks about them, or I've like done this like big announcement on social media, and then people forget that. And so there's loads of different things that I try and experiment with. And I'm the kind of person who I don't get clarity before I take action. I can't sit and think something and figure it out. I have to get my clarity from action. I have to do
Right.
and test and try and know that if it's going to work, and know, and in order to do that, I put myself out there. So the amount of like times I've started businesses and then, like that meme of Homer walking backwards in the hedge,
Yep.
just like done that. And I think this stops people so much. Like, well, I've got to get it perfect because once I've done like a post about it, but nobody cares, nobody remembers. You probably don't remember the agency called Outrageous Creative that I started with a previous client that I did a big talk on. I posted about it loads. Nobody. So I think failure is even that word doesn't feel accurate to me now. It's just experiments and tests and testing things. And it's like, I don't know, I like to try and be a bit better with money than I used to be. And if anybody here invests, you know that you have some that do really well, some that do less well, and that's the strategy. The
Hmm.
strategy is some projects, some experiments, some emails, some social media posts. Some businesses will do phenomenally well and other ones won't. But you can't get that data and you can't get that information if you're trying to get everything perfect every time. You've got to be messy, and you've got to put things in the world and let them fail, and then know that actually people don't care. They don't care. They're worried about their own imaginary failures.
So just on that point there about being messy, like, so my brother Paul, and him and I have he uses this word scrappy, right? And
Mm,
that's where at the beginning I hated it. Like, and I used the word hate. I hated it. I was like, no, I don't want to be scrappy. I like things to be a bit fine tuned, and thought about it. And that's where I just see the difference in our personalities. Where Paul is like, hey, I've got 40% of the information. I'm good to go. I'm like,
mm.
you've only got 40%. How on earth are you going to do this? Why is Paul doing all right? He only had 40%. That's annoying. Or I'm like, I needed to wait till I got 60, 70, or like the majority of the picture there. I said, no, sometimes you've got like, you're going to be scrappy. As you said, like, I'm using that word messy there to figure out, we do that, we learn. Okay, I learned to do, fail fast, iterate, fail fast again. Got there, got there. Where at the beginning of my journey here was, oh no, I had to wait until I had almost the full picture to then get it. Oh, you got it almost right. Okay, now I've got to think and do it again. And that process was kind of the same when I look at it there, but he was able to begin that a lot earlier. But it's the word there about messy that I was like, that's so similar to what, I mean, Paul's been telling me that for a decade now of sometimes, Jamie, you just got to do. You don't get the chance to have your 2 weeks to think about it and mull over every scenario of what could happen if this is said, what I'm going, oh, yes, and an insight to my mind. Now, I know we've only got a little bit of time here left for you, so thank you so much for being so generous with your time as well. Thank you. This is a question that I put to all of our guests, and it's thinking of everything that you know now from
Mm.
the 48 businesses that you have started since you were 5, and everything that you know now. What would you say to, I don't even say, like, what would you say to baby Kirsty on like your first day of your job? Like, I'm thinking
Mm.
you've obviously got that spirit and you're starting off on like an agency land and all that there. So remove the first day of the first job. What would you say to baby Kirsty starting out in her professional career?
I have no advice for her because whatever she did, she crushed it. And the thing is I was not someone who had like goals. I didn't go to school and be like, I wasn't ambitious. I went to one of the worst schools in the country. My first job was door-to-door sales, selling Empower. I was never meant to be successful. It wasn't meant to go this way. Like, I wasn't like, oh, mom and dad want me to go to uni and they want me to be a lawyer. Like, there was none of that. There was like, mom and dad vaguely hope I don't go to prison. Like, it was kind of, I didn't have, I never, if me starting out my career could see where I ended up beyond the pale of anything I ever possibly could have expected. So I don't know what I did, but I clearly did something right. And I think the thing that I did right was just always completely, totally, unapologetically, unequivocally be myself. Because and I used to get feedback of people being like, oh, be a bit more professional, and I always just was like, no, no, don't make me. So I'd give her no advice. I'd just be like, crack on, kid. You're doing whatever it is you're doing. Maybe drink a bit less. Maybe try and remember some of your 20s, but it seems like you're having fun. So yeah, I think I wouldn't give advice because I don't have a single regret, because I cannot even begin to fathom how I landed somewhere as cool as this.
That's an amazing answer. And just on your point there about the professionalism, there was I've got a real bee in my bonnet about that as well. It does my nutting. Cause I go, what does that mean? Like, tell me what that means for you, because I've like, from agency land, working with all these different clients and working client side, about 60% of it, there's I've seen people rock in and like their jeans and a hoodie and absolutely crush it, and they're the guy there. And then I've seen another guy that's rocked up in a suit, and it's like, oh, I guess this is a perception of this is what professional looks like. And they kind of sucked a little bit. They did like all of that. I'm going like, so this is what you're telling me is professional, but like, what does that even mean? And in our messaging workshop, they said, we want to be seen as professional. And I went, what does that even mean, guys? And they went, oh, well, we want people to trust us. So I was like, okay, so you actually want to be trustworthy. Went, yeah. I went, okay, cool. Naturally just moved that word away from it to the point it was not mentioned at all. But I had your thoughts in my mind there when, because it just, it stirs up fire in me of a negative energy. So let's move on to the last one, which is about a moment here for gratitude and positivity. I mentioned this to everyone about saying it usually takes a village to help someone in for the success that you've had there with Roar and everything else. I know you've said like, okay, they failed, but you're doing very well right now. Is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to, give kudos to across your journey, a person, a group of people that have helped you get to where you are today?
There's a man called Fergus Clawson who used to run an agency called Blue Claw. And I literally owe my entire existence to that man, because like I said, I was working in door-to-door sales for a commission-only wage, didn't have any prospects, no one was hiring me. I didn't know anyone. I didn't have anything. And I realized that digital marketing was a thing that might be cool for me to do. I applied to every agency in the world ever. Nobody wanted to hire me apart from Fergus. So yeah, he hired me. And if it weren't for him, then I'd probably still be flogging that Empower. And a guy called Ian Roberts. Ian Roberts is the reason. I used to work with him at LBI. You might remember him.
Yep.
The reason my business exists.
Very smart guy.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Fergus Clawson and Ian Roberts are literally two men on the shoulders of which I stand. And they wouldn't like take that, or like they would be like, what? It's got nothing to do, but it's them two.
Awesome. Well, shout out to Ian. Shout out to them. Well, here, where can people find you? What is next for Kirsty?
Well, my name is Kirsty Hulse. And can you say my name for me, Jamie?
Sure. Kirsty Hulse. Yeah.
So Kirsty is a Scottish name. And it sounds just so much better in a Scottish accent.
Like, you've got the worst Scottish accent ever right now. I'm like the most East Coast, like kind of neutral rubbish. Would you like to go a bit more Scottish? Would that be more fun?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. Oh, this is going to be awful. Why did I put myself up for that? Well, I'm going to sound like my dad. How did he go? All right, Kirsty Hulse. So a bit more. Yeah, that's rubbish. Kirsty Hulse. I'm going to stick with my original. Kirsty
Okay,
Hulse.
perfect. Wait, so I'm very fortunate in that as it stands, nobody else has my name. So I'm very findable on the internet.
Mhm.
So yeah, I prolifically show up online. LinkedIn tends to be my main channel where I play.
Mhm.
What's next for me is I've got a busy, exciting, lively couple of years making sure that people stay influential, compelling, authentic, and can really stand out in the crowd of AI. World of work is changing, and the skills that I've been teaching and banging on about for the past 10 years are now the most important thing we can learn.
I agree on that, but we don't have enough time to get into that, but I absolutely support you in that. Well, Kirsty, thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
You've been so generous with it. And thank you once again to all our listeners for giving your time to Think Bamboo Podcast. I appreciate all of you. So take care and bye-bye, Kirsty.
Thank you. Bye.